Greetings, 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 greetings. This is Chief with another video. This video here, I'm pretty much just gonna talk a little bit about my life. Just kind of like give a synopsis. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I have audio on here. All right, so I got audio. All right, so basically, like I said, this video is pretty much just to give a synopsis of my life. You know just a little bit of my background because I want people to get to know me. So with that being said, I'm gonna get right into it. The purpose of this channel is to enlighten, to give knowledge, to educate, to bring a lot of information to the forefront, so that people are able to, dive deeper into the minds of the people that control their lives. You know what I'm saying? But the only way to do that, you have to first know who you are, right? You have to first know the situation that you're in. You have to realize that there is a glass, a blur, pretty much that has been put before your eyes, and you can't see through the blur. All right. So you're blinded by illusions. You feel me? So, with that being said, the purpose of this channel is to enlighten and just give information and share knowledge. But I want you to, like I said, get to know a little bit about me. So, let's get into that. Yes, I was born, my physical body was manifested on the island of Dominica, White Sea Kubuli. Um, I was born I think I was born in the Princess Margaret Hospital, or I was born in the house. But, either way, I have a birth certificate that says Princess Margaret Hospital, right? So I'm going to put it that way. I was born in the Princess Margaret Hospital in Goodwill. And, we lived in Gutta Village, Gutter, Gutta Village. And I must say that, growing up, was a beautiful thing. I mean, an average family, based on, what I consider average, meaning that a mom and a dad, both my parents, were in the church Christians, and life was cool, when it came to academics, I was a knowledgeable child, right? But I wasn't, the brightest in the box. Okay. And what I mean by that is, school wasn't much of an interest to me. All right. Because I always wanted to kind of like just, explore at a very, very young age. I knew there was something different in me and about me. Yes, I read, I knew how to read. I knew how to do math. I love social studies. My main subject was pretty much math and social studies. You know what I mean? But the other subjects, I just did them because I had to, right? But I never really took school. I took it serious, but I didn't take it like extremely serious, like most people would, they would prepare people, to literally create a future based on them going to school. So that was never really part of my thing. Even growing up as a child, I learned to cut hair on my own, and I used a blade and a comb, and I would cut hair in the neighborhood. Right, even when I went to the country, I would cut hair, and I would do my little hustle. But I grew up seeing my mother, you know what I'm saying, just being an entrepreneur, and she instilled the spirit of entrepreneurship in me, so that literally, shaped me for when I traveled, outside of Dominica. But I went to Goodwill School, right? I went to Goodwill School, very active, very, very active. I played a lot of marbles, I was more of a jovial type, but very protective, of my family, especially my sisters, right? But long story short, at the age of 6, like I said, I knew I was different. There was something in me that just realized that at that time, Dominica was just too small for me. So I had to explore. All right. And especially being in the church, which I will not really talk a lot about religion, on this platform, because I don't want to scare people, because religion is a whole nother beast, right? And I don't want to get into that. So I'm gonna just pretty much stick on history. I'm gonna stick on law, and I'm gonna stick on politics, right? I'm going to leave religion alone, at least on that platform. But however, I'm writing a book. I'm almost done with the book, and I'm literally diving into the belly of religion. So I won't get into religion on this platform. All right. But I'm saying all that to say was, at some point, I didn't want to go to church, right? So, but being a part of that family, it was mandatory to go to church. I didn't have a choice until I got to an age where, you know what, I'm gonna be defiant. I ain't going to church. It is what it is. If I got to get a spanking, I'll get a spanking, but I'm not going, right? So at the age of 12, I took the common entrance, in from, when I was in Goodwill School, and I didn't pass. Like I said, I really never took school seriously, right? But then my mother played it with me, and just seeing the hard work, and she's always working, and she wanted the best for her children, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, you know what, man, I got to stop being selfish. It's not about me. My mother is working hard, my dad is working hard, so let me take this school thing a little more serious. So the second time around, I took the common entrance and I passed, right? So I got my sister and I, we got accepted into the DG Dominica Grammar School, DGS. All right, so that's the high school that I went to. But when at the age of 17, well, I always traveled, right? From the age of 9, 10, I was always traveling because my father worked at the airline, right? So we got buddy passes, and we always traveled. So at the age of 17, I would take trips, to St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, different places, Guadeloupe, all these different places. And as soon as I graduated from high school, and I was like, you know what? I told my mom, hey, I'm old enough. I think it's time for me to spread my wings. I'm gonna leave Dominica. Of course, my mother wasn't in favor of that. My father wasn't in favor of that. My sisters wasn't in favor of that. But that's what I wanted to do. Okay. I felt like I was becoming a man, and I wanted to experience the world for myself. Now, I had two options, right? The first option was I could either go to England, where my grandmother was, my grandfather was. I had lots of aunts and uncles and cousins, and the likes, right? But, growing up, I always heard a saying that people who go to England, when they come back, they always come back crazy. So that was in the back of my mind, right? So I told myself, hey, I'm not going to go to England. I want to go to the United States, right? Because for some reason, something was pulling me to the United States. At that time, I didn't know what it was. It wasn't even anything about, opportunities. Nah, it was just something within my soul that it was pulling me. I was gravitating towards going to the United States. So I went to St. Thomas as soon as I graduated, and I stayed in St. Thomas for a year, right? I worked in a spot called the Vision Center on Main Street, and then I left and I went into the US. All right. And I'm gonna tell people, and I'm gonna keep it real. You feel me? Because a lot of people think, especially people in the islands, they think when you go to the United States, people are picking up money, people are picking up money, on trees, or you could walk down the block and you could pick up $100 bills, and people always want something. People in the islands, they always want, not realizing that, you go into a country and you're struggling and nobody knows. And the sad part is, I don't blame the people in the islands. Why? Because the people who travel abroad, they don't keep it real. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they don't keep it real for whatever reason. Maybe it's because of pride. They don't want people to know they're struggling. And I went through that process of going through a hard time and always calling my mom and my dad and making them think everything is okay. And like I said, it was because of the pride, because you live in home and you're going to make a better future for yourself, and you don't want to call your people and tell them you in certain situations. So with that being said, the first 6 months I got to the United States, no family, just me, got cousins. I had an uncle, but it was like an uncle in name. I tell people, just because you and people are blood, it doesn't mean that you and them are tight. So it was just uncle in name. All right. So the first 6 months I got to the US, I became homeless. And as a matter of fact, the first experience was when I got to the US, it was cold. Now, mind you, I'm from a tropical country. And when I got into the US, it was in February, right? So it was mad cold. So when I literally got into the airport, I stepped outside and it's cold. I didn't have a jacket. So I'm thinking, I'm like, hold up, why do they have a refrigerator open in public? Then my cousin was like, no, that's how it is. It's actually cold outside like that. That was my first time experiencing that, but that was kind of funny to me though. But I just, in a sense, it wasn't, because I was freezing. But anyway, she brought me a jacket, right? But I was staying with my cousin, and come to find out that her roommate had a vendetta against my mom. And when she found out that was my mom, she literally turned my cousin against me and would, tell my cousin all these lies, and my cousin would believe her because, she was an adult. You know what I'm saying? I was still a teenager, right? So it so happened that things got so bad where my cousin kicked me out, right? So that's when I became homeless the first 6 months in New York. Okay. I stayed in the park. There's a park called Lincoln Terrace in Brooklyn. Now, when I got to Brooklyn, Brooklyn was like home. Brooklyn was like literally to me, like the Caribbean, in a sense that I could go on the corner and see different people from all over the Caribbean, right? I could go to the corner store and I would see the foods that I grew up eating. So I was just mad comfortable living in Brooklyn. So like I said, I was homeless for 2 weeks, living in the park, and when it was time for me to take a shower, there was a place I used to do laundry, and the people who they didn't own the laundry, but they managed the laundry. It was a Haitian couple, okay, and they were just amazed that I was able to speak patois, Creole, even if it was different from the dialect was different from theirs. But it was just amazing to them that somebody that's not from Haiti was speaking Creole, right? So they took a liking to me, and I looked up, to them because I was taught to always respect my elders, right? But that's where I did my laundry. So I told them my situation, and the lady and her husband, they put me to sit down, and they was like, okay, you know what? We could have you stay with us. Well, now you can't stay with us, but if you want to take a shower, you could come shower. We'll feed you, but you can't stay with us because we live in a one, bedroom studio, and we, literally no space. So I was thankful for that, right? So every time I needed a shower, okay, I would, go to them. They go to their house, take a shower. They would feed me, and then I would sleep in the park. I remember days when, man, I didn't even have a quarter in my pocket, right? But by the grace of the universal creators, I mean, there was always favor upon me, and I never look at it like I was homeless. I just look at it like I was in the park, because I was always in, like, the first 6 months in New York. That's when I fell in love with the park, because I was working out at the bars and doing calisthenics, so I felt comfortable there, right? So I didn't tell myself I was homeless. I just told myself I didn't have a place to stay at the time, what they may call a home, but I'm in the park. I'm cool. So now the cousin who kicked me out, her boyfriend was a Nigerian at that time, and he and we were mad cool. So he didn't know what happened. He didn't know what transpired. So I called him after 2 weeks, and I said, hey, listen, bro, this is my situation, right? So he told me I could come stay with him, but don't tell my cousin that I'm staying with him, because he don't want to, he don't want to cause any problems between the both of them, right? So anyway, that was the situation. He used to do security at a company called Command Security, right? And hold on for a second. Oh, give me 1 second. All right. All right. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I apologize about that. Talking about I had to take this call, right? But anyway, I was talking about my situation, right? So he was working at a security company called Command Security. Now, mind you, at that time, I didn't have any documents in the US, right? So I had to create, I literally made up a social, to get the job. You know what I'm saying? So I got the job, whatever the case is, and I was working there, right? And worked there for about a year. After a year, I got tired of that, because once again, the entrepreneurial spirit that my mother instilled in me was always in the back of my head, right? So I wanted to work for myself. So I used to hang out in a spot where they had a lot of people from St. Vincent. And one of the guys that worked there, he came up to me one day. He said, "Listen, man, I realize, you're a young dude, you're a young buck, and you're around these older guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, they drinking, they smoking. I see you don't drink. I see you don't smoke, so I'm a locksmith. If you want, I could teach you the trade and you could come work with me so you don't have to be around these dudes, right?" I was like, cool. So boom, he took me to work with him and taught me the trade of being a locksmith. In less than 6 months, I was the one running the job because, like I said, that was just my nature. I was always a leader by nature. You know what I'm saying? So I took over the whole contract, and I was the one giving people jobs. All right. So I did that for a while. I did that for a couple of years, and then while I was doing that, things got a little slow. Then I went to apply for a job in Manhattan in a warehouse. I got that job for about 6 months. I did that job, right? But to me, that was like slavery. Okay. So I never wanted to be a slave to anybody, right? So after 6 months, I left that job. I was done with that, right? So, but during the security job, and doing the locksmith job, I would still do like private jobs doing locksmith because, people, we had a business. People could call me if they can't find the keys for their car, they lost the keys for their car. I could go on the spot and make the keys, right? So that was my little hustle until something else came along. All right. So um a year or two, couple years went by, I had my apartment, doing my own thing, living on my own. But when everything got real bad, meaning that, the locksmith thing wasn't popping, like literally, I got into a position where I couldn't pay my rent. Now, my mom, my dad, we have a great relationship. My family, we are close. My lineage, we are close, right? But because of the pride, I did not want to tell them what I was going through. You know, my mom and my dad was always like, you know, you sure everything okay for you? You know, come home, come home. Always know that you have a home, a place to come back to. But in my head now, I left and I'm going to make it on my own. All right. And I'm telling people my story because, like I said before, a lot of people travel and they don't keep it real with the people back home. They don't let them know that you don't walk on the streets of New York or whatever state in the United States that you're in, whatever territory that you're in, and they don't keep it real with people. People are struggling. You know, when you're paying rent, I'm talking about back then, a one-bedroom apartment was like $900, right? Which was still, it wasn't bad, but it was expensive. That's 900 US, right? And, you know, food is expensive. Everything you have to pay for, you know, and people are just so disconnected. Like in the islands, you know, if you're hungry, you could go to the neighbor next door. The neighbor next door might feed you. Say, hey, you know what? Here's a piece of dashing. You know what I'm saying? Here's a piece of fig, right? Here's a piece of breadfruit. In the United States, no, man, you got to fend for yourself. You got to fight for yours. Nobody looking out for you like that. All right. So people got to be honest with people and let them know that you're from the islands, whether it's from Dominica, Jamaica, Grenada, St. Vincent, it's St. Lucia, it doesn't matter. You are living in a gold mine because why? You could go next door and get a piece of food. You could go on the land and plant your food and you could feed yourself. In the United States, you know, depends on where you're at. You can't do that. You can't do that, especially in a place like New York. So it's dog eat dog, and people are not keeping it real. So now your people back home, they're thinking, oh, you're living the dream life. You know, you're doing it big and you're not looking out for them because you don't want to tell them the truth. So, like I tell people in my experience, I want to teach people the truth. Let you know exactly that you live in a gold mine, you live in paradise. And now I'm not knocking the US because it is still the land of my ancestors, that territory. I'm talking about the corporation, the concrete jungle that was created, the mindset, okay, that was created. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not belittling the people or the land mass, no, but the territory, the legal society that was created where people are literally slaves and they don't know. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So, with that being said, after a few years, you know, I could not even pay my rent, right? I could not pay my rent. Boom, I'm homeless again, back in the park. And at that time, I wasn't even stressing it. My mom come, you know, I didn't tell my mom the situation because I was still trying to play face, you know, oh, I'm good, everything is all right, whatever the case is, because, like I said, because of pride. All right. But I dealt with what I had to deal with, right? At, at that time, I think I was homeless for probably about 3 weeks to a month, 3 weeks to a month. And then one day I met a dude, like, you know, just hanging on the corner. His name was James. He was from St. Vincent. So I heard his accent. I'm like, yo, you from St. Thomas? He was like, yeah. I was like, yo, I used to live in St. Thomas. You know what I'm saying? So boom, boom, boom. So we clicked, right? So he said, listen, yo, you could, if you want, you could come stay with me. I got a 2-bedroom apartment. You know what I'm saying? There's like another room in the back. You could have the room, etc., etc., etc. All right. So boom, I was living with him for I would say a year. Okay. Then I got on my feet. Then I got into promoting parties. All right. I became a promoter. I went to a club. Somebody introduced me to a guy at the club that promoted the parties, and I got into promoting parties, right? Come to find out, he promoted dancers. I became a dancer, you know. So I'm saying all that to say is when you travel abroad, okay, things are not always handed to you on a platter. You have to make yourself. And it was my experiences that made me, okay? Just by doing the dancing and doing the promotions, right? I was able to start college. So I started college. I went to John Jay College. I went to criminal justice school in Manhattan, right? But then after a year of going to school in John Jay, now paying for school wasn't a problem because I was making the money to pay for school, but it was my mentality. All right. I did not want to go get a degree and be anybody's slave. So I had that kind of rebellious nature to a certain extent. Not rebellious in a negative way, but rebellious in the sense of that entrepreneurship that was in me. I wanted to do my own thing, right? So I stopped going to college. So I kept promoting the parties. I kept doing the dancing, etc., etc., etc. All right. Now, mind you, things are getting more expensive in New York. Things are getting harder in New York. Life is hard. Okay, life is hard because um, even if I was staying with James, after a while, I got my own apartment because I like having my own. So I went from living in an apartment where I was paying 900 before I moved in with James to having my own apartment paying 1150. All right. Plus my utility bills. I had to pay my utility bills, my light, my gas, etc. Right. I had to pay that myself. Okay. So once again, hardship came. I couldn't afford paying the apartment by myself. So a couple of friends I knew from Dominica, all right, they moved into the apartment. So we split the rent because, like I said, you have to make do. You got to do what you got to do, right? But I started doing research. Okay, I love to read. Now I'm gonna be honest. When I was in Dominica, I didn't like to read, but something changed in me, and I just found a passion for reading and studying. So the first thing I started doing was I started studying law. Okay, I started studying law. Okay, because I had an interest in law. So I started learning about law, legal, common law, learning the United States, system, learning the codes and all these different things, right? I started doing that. Then that led me into going into studying history. All right. And the more I dug into history, was the more I got to know about myself and learn about my true story and my origin. Okay, and my lineage and my ancestry. And it was just so amazing. It was it was mind boggling. All right. So, with that being said, that led me to, more studying and more studying. And I went past historical books and went into prehistoric books. And I've read so many books. I would say probably over 1,000, close to 2,000 books. I'm talking about like I was literally a bookworm, reading and studying and researching, right? And I got into a relationship, and I'm talking about years later, right? I got into a relationship, right? I'm talking about like literally years later, where I had an apartment on my own, and then I got into a relationship, and the young lady moved in with me, right? And she moved in with me, but relationship was great, everything was great. I got into meditation, and I had a vision, and one of my ancestors came to me in the vision and told me, hey, you know what, you have to be celibate, right? Celibate meaning that, stop engaging physically, into sexual activities, right? So I'm very in tune with my higher self. So the very next day I told the young lady, I said, listen, I know you may find this a little bit strange, but I'm going to be celibate. And I was told I need to be celibate for 3 years. She looked at me like I was crazy, right? But anyway, I went from a full blown relationship, engaging with my girlfriend, how many times a week, whatever the case is. And then all of a sudden, I'm telling her, I'm going to be celibate. I don't want to have sex. So she found that strange because all I was doing was studying and meditating, right? So that put a some strain on the relationship. And after another year, I said, listen, if you feel like you want to bounce and do what you have to do, it's okay. Do your thing. I'm not mad at you. You know what I'm saying? I'll take responsibility, what I'm saying, for me not, you know, doing my part. All right. But I have to follow my journey. Okay. So, we broke up, whatever the case is, and I continued on my journey. But it led me into studying more. And the more I studied, the more I meditated, the more the universe opened up to me and started showing me and giving me information. All right. So now I'm taking y'all into years of being in the United States. I'm skipping a lot of steps, of the struggle, but I'm giving you a synopsis of the journey. So one day I had a vision, and I was told I should do a DNA test, but I did not want to do the popular DNA test. So I wanted to do a private DNA test, because the popular DNA test, they work with the with the colonization society, and they put you in Africa. Now, a lot of things I'm going to show on this channel, all right, a lot of people are not going to resonate with it. And I'm cool with that, because of what you were taught. Because, like I said, people are indoctrinated, right? And they get fed into all these theories, right? But I wanted to find out who I truly was. Okay. So, with that being said, I did a private DNA test. All right. And from that, in fact, I did two of them. I did a private DNA test, and it came back exclusively that I'm American Indian, which I already knew. But that just confirmed it. All right. Because I always, like I said, I always knew something was different about me. Okay. And then I did another DNA test, which is a rare genes test. Now, I was always teaching people that the first Egypt, or the first concept of Egypt, was always in the Americas. The internet kicked me out, but I'm back now, right? So, like I was saying, right, I always taught people that, in my research, going into prehistoric books, the truth started to, reveal itself, right? And I was getting visions of all these things. So I was teaching that, of course, my people are not from Africa, whatever the case is. And like I said, I'm going to teach some things on this channel that's literally, a lot of people, it's not going to resonate with them. Why? Because of the indoctrination. All right. But I don't know your story. I know mine. So my ancestors are not Africans. All right. So anyway, I did the DNA test, the private DNA test, and it came back saying that an American Indian. And I also did another test, a rare genes test, and it came back that on both on both my mother and my father's side, I'm a direct descendant of Akhenaten, the Pharaoh. But a lot of people don't realize that the original Egypt is actually in the Americas. You have the whole of the Yucatan, the Yucatan, and you have parts of Mississippi, parts of Illinois, all that's part of Egypt. Okay, so that's where my ancestors are from. Okay, so anyway, I have all that, and I'm going to show that in another video. But I'm saying all that to say is this: I had to do all this and go through the growing pains and the experiences, being homeless, getting into a relationship, being celibate for, for 3 years. And I did that. All right. And then once again, my ancestors came to me and told me, you know what, get out of the city and go into the mountains. I went into the mountains for 6 months. Okay. I went to Missouri, and I went into the mountains for 6 months during the winter. No light. Okay. No gas, nothing. And I was staying on 22 acres. One of my friends, he had 22 acres. He and his family lived on one part of the land, and he told me he had a trailer on another part. And I told him, yo, I need a break. All right. So he told me I could come stay. And I promise you, I did that for 6 months, all through the winter. All right. Doing my meditation. All right. Growing, into my true self, learning who I am. All right. And so many truth was revealed to me. A lot of things I didn't read in books, but it came to me. Okay. I saw it in dreams. I saw it in visions. I saw the story of what happened in 1492 in the Americas. It was shown to me in a vision. I saw who my ancestors were. I mean, it was overwhelming. All right, information. But when I started teaching, people thought I was crazy, because I did not have the tangible information to show people. But then I came across certain books that literally started showing me and giving me the tangible information that I could actually show people of the things that was given to me in visions, right? So, my channel started, I started to teach on first Black Planet, then I YouTube. Right now, my other YouTube channel got about over 28,000 subscribers. But I'm just saying all that to say is I've been doing this for a while, teaching. And when I was teaching the truth about who my people was and who we were in the Americas, and that we did not come from Africa, it wasn't popular. But now the truth is popular, and more American Aborigines, aka American Indians, okay, stepping up into the truth, right? So with that being said, I've been on that journey for a very long time. All right. And it was only this year, I was like, okay, you know what? I've been away, from Dominica too long. I'm hearing all these things about politics and all, and I took an interest in politics, and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go to Dominica and teach my people the truth. It's about time. I've been away for too many years. I got to go back to the foundation and teach people, because I did enough teaching in the US. I would travel all over the US. I'm talking about Atlanta, Chicago, California, Detroit, Boston, Massachusetts. I mean, literally, I've been to at least 30 different states teaching people about history and law. Okay. And everything was self-taught. Everything was self-taught. I'm a self-made man when it comes to the knowledge, because I studied. Then I got into the etymology of words, because I realized that words have power, and the words that you speak become your reality. All right. So I had to learn the etymology of words. So when I speak, I'm able to speak words of high vibrations, right? But it wasn't only that. It taught me about other words that were being used in society to cast spells on people, right? So I had to be aware of those things, okay? And I would say about 3.5 to 4 years ago, I got another vision again. I had to become celibate. So it's been about 3.5 to 4 years now, going on 4 years, I've been celibate. Because like I said, when you're growing into yourself, sometimes you have to take time to get to know yourself, right? Sometimes you have to take time to find out who you truly are. And that's what I had to do. So with all that knowledge, and it took me from, like I said, from law, okay, from studying law and teaching law to studying history and teaching history. All right. And now breaking down the Bible. I could literally break down the Bible and tell you everything it means, because the Bible is not what you think it is. But like I said, I'm not going to get into religion on this platform, because I don't want to scare y'all. All right. So I'll leave it as that. But anyway, I came back to Dominica to teach my people, teach them the truth of who they are. And that's my main purpose. Okay. So the struggle, it's been real. All right. And I encourage people that, when you travel, man, keep it real with your people back home. Let them know, hey, it's not as easy as you think it is. I am here struggling as well. I'll try my best to help you if I can. But if I can't do certain things, if I can't send you $50 this month, if I can't send you $100 this month, don't think it's because I don't want to do it. It is because I can't. Because people are not being honest with people, man. They are not. Traveling outside your own country of birth, especially a place like Dominica, where you're living in the Garden of Eden, right? And the governments are teaching you an illusion that you are in a third world country, that you are poor. You're only poor mentally. The land is rich. Dominica is one of the richest places on the planet, period. You know what I mean? And what they teach people in the United States is that, well, you live in a third world country and this is this and this is that. All right. But they teach the tourist that you live in paradise. That's what they teach the tourist, that you live in paradise, but they teach you live in hell. You feel me? Because you are indigenous to the land. So I have to come back and teach the people, hey, You're actually living in paradise. And learn to love your country. Learn to love your birthright. Reclaim your birthright because it's yours. You have to have a love for it. Now, there's nothing wrong in traveling overseas and getting the opportunities. All right. And I appreciate that the corporation is there, which is the United States, to give you an opportunity to help build yourself financially. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's the same thing I teach my brothers and sisters in the United States. All right. Know the difference between the de jure landmass and the de facto landmass, because the corporation is enslaving everybody. All right. So I'm in tune with my brothers and sisters in the United States. We have a mutual respect for each other because we know we came from the same motherland, which is America. America is my motherland. And I'm going to be breaking all that down to y'all and showing y'all proof, right? So I just wanted to do this video. I know this one is a little bit lengthy. Others may be longer, but I wanted to give you just a little bit of history, okay, as to, yes, I was born in Dominica, some of my journey and some of the things that I went through in the United States. And of course, the story, it could go deeper and deeper, but I'm just giving you, like I said, a synopsis, a summary of my experience and my journey. So now I'm back in Dominica and I'm here to teach. I'm here to uplift. I'm here to give knowledge. I'm coming back for Creole Festival. I already bought my ticket. Then I'll be, I think on October 26th, I'm coming back. I'm leaving November 6th. All right. And when I get back into the US, I'll be there for like probably a month or two. And then I'm coming back. I'm buying a one-way ticket to Dominica. I'm coming back for like about 4, 5, 6 months. All right. Because I really want to go around and teach people. So I want this channel to literally be promoted all throughout Dominica so people could learn, open up their mind, okay, and not be so anxious to run away from the Garden of Eden, not be so anxious to run away from what you have, because it's only when you're gone, right? You think the grass is greener on the other side. And yes, to a certain extent it is, right? But know this, that you are on the land where if you plant anything in the soil, it's going to grow. So people have to go back to that, to the concept or the mentality that, hey, you know what? I live in the Garden of Eden and I have everything in abundance. Everything else is an illusion. Everything else is wants, but the land already give you your needs. All right. So we have to go back to that. And it's only when you have a true love for your country and this is your birthright and you realize that, hey, you know what? I have to stand up and fight for what's mine. Then the people's mind will start opening up. Okay. And then change will come, and change can come, but we got to stand together. We got to unite. And then we could take that change into different countries in different parts of the Americas, but it could start in Dominica. And that is my goal. And that is my mission. And that is my purpose. Some people may say, hey, you know what, be careful, Chief. When you get into politics, listen, I'm not here to play politics. I'm here to teach the truth. And anybody who try to come against me, they're going to learn who I am, because I'm very protected. All right. So with that being said, man, listen, that was just a little bit about who I am, a little bit of my journey. And I'm glad to be back in Dominica. Of course, the entire Americas, that's my motherland. So I claim everything. All right. I don't just isolate myself to being a Dominican. I'm an American, period. All right. And when I say American, I'm not talking about United States. United States is not America. And I already broke that down. I'm talking about America as being my motherland. All right. So I will break a little more of that down to y'all. Right. So the next video I'm going to do, I'm going to get more into who I am in terms of being indigenous. I'm going to break down what indigenous means. I'm going to break down what native means. I'm going to do that in the next lesson. All right. So I want to thank you for being a part of, for listening to this video, sharing a little bit of my journey, sharing a little bit of my experience. And like I said, I'm here to impact change. And that's what I'm here for. So I want to thank you for your participation in viewing the video and sharing the video. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. All right. Y'all have a great continuation. Thank you.